Good evening, everybody. Our August 22nd, 2022 meeting is now called to order. We will have prayer by yours truly, and then Pledge of Allegiance by our Councilwoman at Large. Will we all stand? Let us pray. O Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth. We gather here tonight to ask for your guidance as we meet to discuss matters of this great city. We acknowledge that on our own, meaning without you, we are ineffective. Scripture says, I am the true vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Therefore, I ask that you would guide us through tonight's meeting. I also ask that you would shine your remarkable light upon this city. Then we will know that our best days are ahead of us and not behind us. We ask these blessings in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Ms. Councilwoman at Large. Next on the agenda is the reading and approval of the minutes from our August 8th, 2022 meeting.
Mayor, I make a motion that we dispense with the reading of the minutes of August 8th, that to be approved.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to dispense with the reading and to approve the minutes as we have them as they are. Any comments or questions, council, about that? Any public comments or questions about this particular motion? Okay, seeing none, Mrs. Stacy, roll call vote.
Elie?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Harrington?
Yes.
Petite?
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, it's planning and zoning final. It's Ordinance Number 48, Councilwoman Washington. Elie.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 48, ordinance amending the ordinance number 64, 2001 by changing the zone classification of the property described as Lot 10 of People's Subdivision, lease the west 111.3 feet as shown on the Plat of Conveyance Book 419, page 358. 1230 Washington Street, and this is read for the first beginning of the meeting of last agenda, and I move to adopt resolution number 48 of 2022.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to adopt this particular ordinance. Young man was here a couple weeks ago. He just explained, what type of business they have, seafood business, and right there on Washington Street. So he's asking, it passed planning and zoning. So I don't know, council, if you've got any questions for the owners here today?
No, sir.
Okay. Are there any public comments or questions about this particular item? All right, seeing none, Mrs. Stacy. Roll call vote.
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Harrington?
Yes.
Petite?
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Congratulations on that. All right, next item on the agenda is also final. It's ordinance number 41 of 2022. That's Councilwoman at Large Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 41 of 2022 is an ordinance declaring certain buildings unsafe and recommending that same be demolished or put into repair to comply with the building code, authorizing notice to be served, fixing hearing date, and appointing curator to represent the absentees. And I believe there were like 8 buildings that were to be demolished. And I'm just going to read the numbers. 409 Martin Luther King Drive, 910 West Street, 801 4th Street, 153 Pearson Street, 223 Pearson Street, 1203 Rustbow Street, 729 Saline Street, And this ordinance was introduced on July 11, 2022, and published in the Natchitoches Times on July 14, 2022. And make a motion that the ordinance number 041 of 2022 be adopted.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to adopt the ordinance in terms of demolitions here. I think Steve and Chantrell are working to get some images, I believe.
Yeah, for some reason, it does not want to connect anymore.
Technology can do that to us sometimes.
It would be nice if we could see them, but I understand. Has any work been done on any of them? Do we know?
There we go. Let's see. Hopefully, we got it working this time.
Do we, oh, you got them up now?
I think we got it working
Okay.
this time. So we'll start, since the last meeting, though, we have had several of the properties that have been cleared or clean, but we haven't had a chance to update it. But we do have like 409 MOK. This was a trailer house that burned, okay? They have actually cleaned this property. They still have a few items left to remove from the property, but they did pull a permit, and they are securing the property to bring it into compliance. So this is the way it did look. Several pictures. Again, like I said, this one is already down. They are working to get the rest of the property clean. Okay? This was 409 Martin Luther King. So our next property that we have is 910 West Street. Again, this is another structure that burned. I have not heard anything from the property owners in reference to this property. They haven't pulled a permit or anything, but I'm assuming this is still owned by the same family to a certain degree. The Shields was the one that pulled the permit for 409 MOK. It's another Shields that owns 910 West Street, but I'm not sure if they're related. But this house burned, and as you can see, it is beyond pretty much repair.
May I
But
ask
no
a
news.
question, please?
Yes,
They were
ma'am.
sent a notice, that's correct, they were sent a notice, Grant Shields was?
They are.
Yeah, okay.
Before we bring any properties for condemnation, we do notify them that the properties need to be taken care of. We give them a certain amount of time to take care of it, and then we'll recommend that it's condemned.
He's sick.
So the next property we have is 801 4th Street. This is the Delphin's property, and they've actually pulled the permit, and this property has been cleaned also. It was completely destroyed.
So you're saying the clearing has already happened?
Yes, they've pulled the permit, they've cleaned the property, they've cleaned the slab. There's nothing left on the property but greenery.
That's
So the next one we have is 153 Pearson. They've already taken care of their property also. As you can see on this picture, they boarded it up and cleaned it up. The previous picture showed overgrowth. The windows had been burst out. There was no front door, and it was just open to the elements. But as you can see, they've boarded it up, and they've pretty much taken care of the property as much as possible. Okay. The next one we have is, again, on Pearson, 223 Pearson. We've dealt with this property for a couple of years now. This house actually was hit by Laura. The gentleman took the necessary precautions to get the structure back in order, and then it was hit again a couple of months ago, and we had a strong wind to come through. So now it's at the point where it's beyond actually repair. There's vegetation throughout the house, through the steps, all through the house. There's leaks. So we recommended that the house be condemned because it is beyond repair once you have vegetation growing up throughout the walls, the ceilings, the floors, all of the structure. The next structure we have is on Stella, and I don't think we had, there we go, 1529 Stella. This was a trailer park. This is on a trailer park, actually. This house is falling in and inside, and the floor, it's pretty much gone. It's not stable at all, but they tried to clean it up as much as they can before we took the pictures. The next property that we have is 1203 Rustbo. This was just some of the structure, this is the land or the outside where sewer actually ran from behind the property. It was actually running in front of the property also, but this is just showing the overflow where it will spill out onto the ground. The grounds, as you can see, was very unkept. They did not keep anything clean there. There are 8 apartments here. Each family that was there had children that was involved. The yellow line that you see here is a line, electrical line that was buried in the yard where the residents of this apartment complex would connect to the apartments that was downstream or down below. They would connect to those apartments to receive power. Again, this is just another shot of what the backyard would look like. This is what some of the inside of the apartments would look like. As you can see, that panel, most of the apartments had open panels where the wires were showing and things of that nature. This is just pictures of some of the remnants of what happened inside of the areas. This is what a lot of the plumbing looked like within the structures. They needed a lot of work. A lot of this was deterioration from pipes and sinks and things like that leaking that caused the wood to deteriorate. This was outside where you can see some of the wires have been cut. This is the inside where the stoves and everything was not really usable, but they were there. And that was it for that. Well, this is some of the roofing. I didn't get a chance to go on top of the roof to see for myself, but according to our CBO, the roof is in terrible condition. According to the information that he projected, it would take about $15,000 as an estimate to have this roof repaired. And as you can see, there are trees that's all on top of the roof. The trees will have to be cut to even get to the roof line to take care of it. This panel, I don't know if I can blow it up big enough, but you see there's 2 red areas there. The top slot, there was actually a red rod that was stuck into this breaker box that powered the apartment complex. The day that we were called to this location, that wire that was stuck inside that meter box was glowing so hot, it was red. If any kid would have been running through there, if anybody would have touched that meter box, they would have died instantly. So on that day, we were forced to shut off power to this apartment complex until he at least brought this meter box up to code as much as possible, and he placed fire alarms within each system. Again, this is the front part where sewer was allowed to escape the sewer system. The sewer systems would overflow, and it would spill out into the front parking lot area. Again, this was another apartment complex that behind one of the TVs, they hot wired and used the wiring to get power. When the upstairs would flush their toilets or empty their tubs or whatever, the ceiling would leak to the bottom, to the units that were below. And as you can see, the condition of the apartments were just beyond livable. This is one of the fire alarms that we had them install before we had power to be reinstated. And that will be it for that.
I know, Chantrell, there's been some communication with the owner, maybe late winter, early spring.
We started communicating with Mr. Braxton back in February.
Okay. Has it been since the meeting, this was with 30 days before it's been 30 days since we introduced this. Has there been any meaningful progress?
No, sir.
Even within those 30 days?
No, sir.
Has a permit been pulled, is what you're saying? No permit has been
No
pulled?
permits, no. We've had people that come and ask about buying it, and they wanted to know about the condition of the apartments. But as for the permit, no one has physically come in to pull a permit or even asked them what's actually necessary. I still had one more that I wanted to show you. It was 729 Salim Street. This house had been pretty much damaged by a storm. There was a hole in the roof. The structure of the building was also destroyed.
Yeah.
As he's getting a picture, do we still have people living in the
We
Rustboro
still-
apartments?
We do. We still have, right now, I want to say 2 families that are still there, but I think we're down to 1. But again, we've given them ample time to relocate. We actually went out to try to find places for them to live. They were decent, better than this. Several refused to move. They wanted to stay where they were. And the places that they were going to be moved to was definitely an upgrade. The rent would have been, based upon their income, it would have been mildly, if not anything, $20 at the most for some of them.
You said they did not want to move?
They did not want to move.
May I speak, Mayor Ronnie Williams? When we came out with the Homeless Coalition, along with myself and Ms. Sam Anthony, they didn't want to fill out the information to get into another facility. The 4 bottom ones, 1, 2, 3, and 4, are the only 4 that actually really filled out the documents to actually really move. We have 3 apartments, 8, 7, and I think 6 are still there now. I think 6 is basically moving now because she's moving to an elderly apartment. So it's 2, 1 family that has a total of 4 children, so it's basically 5 in the household, and we have another adults that live there, so it's like a total of 4 that live in that home. So no one wants to fill out the information to actually really be moved.
I don't know if they're scared to fill out this information or what, but they don't want to give any knowledge of who they are, pretty much. They really don't. They want us to just pretty much leave them alone, but we can't. Once this unit is condemned, they have to move.
Yeah, they have to move.
Is there anybody here on behalf of 1203 Rustboro?
Okay, council. Council, any additional questions, comments?
I was saying that the Homeless Coalition, along with Sam Anthony, which she's one of the organizations that comes down from Baton Rouge, that's with the Louisiana rental system that place people in proper homes. So the 4 that was down below were the ones that actually really did what they needed to do to get into a better facility, a home. But the 3 that's up top doesn't want to do the information. So that's what I was basically explaining.
Any public comments or questions about this agenda item?
This is the last one I have, Mayor.
Okay.
This is the 729.
Celine.
Yeah. This is Celine, and actually the young lady was wanting to keep the house, even though I explained to her that with the condition that it's in, without pulling a permit to repair it, there's no way that the city can allow her to rent this structure out at all. But we're recommending that it is condemned. As you can see with the different holes in the ceiling, the floor is collapsing. There's no way anyone can actually live in this house safely. And that will be the end of what we have as far as our condemnations. Sir, would you need me to go back again?
Oh, Kevin?
Did you need a?
Go back.
Okay.
Okay. All righty. I was saying, I was asking, any public comments or questions about this particular agenda item? All right, seeing none. I think we have a motion and a second, right, Mrs. Stacy? All right, roll call vote.
Elie,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Petite,
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is an ordinance for introduction, and it is ordinance number 49 of 2022, read by Councilman Harrington.
Ordinance number 49, this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor, Ronnie Williams Jr., to execute an instrument entitled Service Agreement, under which the city will contract for consulting and professional services from Merchant McIntyre and Associates LLC related to pursuing and obtaining federal funding. The agreement provides for an additional term of 1 year and a fee of $7,500 per month commencing on August 1st, 2022, and terminating on July 31st, 2023. This is for introduction only.
All right, this is, we've been working with the firm, the DC's firm, Merchant McIntyre, for a year now. And we see the terms of the agreement, $7,500 a month, and they are working with our group here, which we've got a few people on those, I think every 2 weeks. Randy Lacasse, Nicole Gray, Nick Verrett, myself, along with the Merchant McIntyre team. So I think certainly with the recent announcement of the Raise Grant Award, $17.2 million that are coming to the city of Natchitoches, with what Merchant McIntyre does, along with our team here, I certainly think it makes good sense for us to continue the relationship with this DC firm. So I don't know if there are any questions or comments at this point. Again, this is just for introduction this week. And I should say this, I think most of the council, we can get out of the council, we had to, but most of you met with them via Zoom, and we not only talked about the Raise grant, but we talked about some other grants that we're looking at, infrastructure grants and things of that nature that, hopefully will.
Public safety, there were
Right,
different ones.
right, this Raise grant has certainly some public safety.
A lot of opportunity.
There are a lot of opportunities. You're right with the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And hey, if you don't have your name in the hat, you don't get that opportunity. So again, I think they're critical. We do have a really good team here. I kind of think of it as if, I look at a lot of things in terms of sports. Michael Jordan does his thing, but Michael Jordan can't do it on his own, right? You need a Dennis Rodman to get rebounds. You need a Scottie Pippen to play defense on the best player on the opposing team. Steve Kerr can knock down the shot. So I think the team we've got assembled, everybody knows their role and does it well. All righty. No comments or questions? All right, again, this is just for introduction. All right, next item on the agenda is also for introduction, and it's ordinance number 50. That's Councilman Petite.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 50 of 2022, ordinance amending the 2022-2023 budget to reflect additional revenues and expenditures, and this is for introduction.
All right, Clarissa?
Yes, sir. So this one is simply to add some additional funding to support our city marshal department. Previously, we were only supporting a portion of their salaries. Now we're going to be bringing in some of their operational cost, such as office supplies, fuel expense, and vehicle maintenance, as well as one more full-time employee. This comes from some review of a statute that's out there that describes what the city should provide to the city marshal. They are still going to be collecting a portion of their revenue and taking care of some other expenditures. So they will have some cost that still stands, and they'll use the portion of the revenue that they get from court costs and things like that to cover those expenses. But we will take on some of their expenses, as I said, gas card, vehicle maintenance, and an additional full-time employee.
So yeah, Clarissa explained it well, and it's to follow more closely the state statute. Just to kind of give you an example of the way we read the state statute, that we, the city, should be responsible maybe for the marshal's vehicle and maintenance thereof and the gas cord tied to that. But where it seems the state statute is also clear is that the marshal's office is to take care of the other vehicles that they have. So that's just one example of, so there's still some things they're responsible for. And you see the impact to our budget, I think around about 80,000 is what we're saying?
Yes, sir.
81,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Yeah, so, council, I don't know if you've got any comments or questions about this.
I think that's fair.
I agree, that's fair.
Yep. Yep, okay, I think, when those sides feel like they got the advantage, I think it is a major advantage. I think it is a fair deal. So, again, it'll be up for a vote on our next meeting, okay? And we'll offer the public an opportunity to comment on these two previous agenda items at our next meeting. Okay? Moving on to resolutions, it's Councilman Nielsen for Resolution Number 71 of 2022.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 71 of 2022 is a resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Natchitoches, Louisiana, to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Louisiana Department of Veterans Affairs to support the cost to operate and maintain the Natchitoches Parish Veterans Service Office. Whereas the city of Natchitoches is a municipality located in the state of Louisiana, parish of Natchitoches, governed under a home rule charter and a code of ordinances adopted by Ordinance Number 5 of 1977, and whereas the city of Natchitoches is specifically authorized under Section 1.06 of the charter of the city of Natchitoches to provide for the general welfare, safety, health, peace, and good order of the city, and further authorized under Section 1.07 of the Charter of the City of Natchitoches to enter into joint service agreements and cooperative efforts with governmental agencies. And whereas the Louisiana Department of Veterans Affairs is a state agency within the executive branch of the state of Louisiana, and whereas the city desires to support local veterans and improve their access to benefits and services by providing for both the cost to maintain and operate veteran services offices and space to house such service offices as provided by law, more fully identified in the attached cooperative endeavor agreement. Whereas further, the city of Natchitoches shall pay to the order of LDVA an annual payment of $10,796 to support the cost to operate and maintain the Veterans Service Office. So I move to adopt resolution number 71 of 2022.
Second.
All right, motion been made and seconded. Pretty self-explanatory. Councilman Nielsen read it while he was reading the resolution. Operation cost is what our $10,796 is going to go toward. There's even some information, council, in your packet about economic impact in the parish of Natchitoches, I think to the tune of about $14 million. All right. I think this is what we can do on our level here locally to say we support our veterans. I know everybody knows some. I've got both my wife's older brothers served. I've got an uncle who served. One of my brother-in-laws is still serving in the military, one tour in Afghanistan, another in Iraq. So I know this hits close to home for a lot of people. So any comments or questions, council?
No, I think you're exactly correct. We need to participate and take care of our veterans. They took care of us.
Right. Right. Any public comments or questions about this particular agenda item? Okay, seeing none. We got the first and second. Mrs. Stacy, roll call vote.
Elie,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Petite,
Yes.
All right, really good piece. That motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is resolution number 72 of 2022, and that's Councilman Petite.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 072 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids for caustic soda for the water treatment plant. Whereas the city wishes to advertise for bids for caustic soda for the water treatment plant, bid number 0655, and whereas the city of Natchitoches will accept sealed and electronic bids for the project until 2 p.m. on Thursday, September 22nd, 2022, at the office of the Director of Purchasing on 1400 Sabine Street, whereas the bids will publicly open and be read aloud at 2 p.m. on Thursday, September 22nd, 2022, held at the above-mentioned office of the Director of Purchasing. Whereas upon receipt of proposals, the committee of Clarissa Smith Brown, Director of Finance, Elie, Director of Purchasing, I myself, Christopher Petite, Councilman, and Matt Anderson, Utility Director, are to review and make a recommendation of the bids received. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Natchitoches in legal session convened that the Honorable Ronnie Williams Jr., Mayor, be and is hereby authorized, empowered, and directed to order the publication of the above bid. I so move that ordinance number 72 of 2022 be adopted.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Matt, we've seen this before. I don't know if there's something you want to say. I am looking here in our little packet, 500,000 pounds of caustic soda, approximately that amount. So you got anything else you add, Matt?
No, sir, this is just our routine bidding of the caustic soda. It's used at the water treatment plant for pH control.
Okay. Questions or comments, council?
Comment, I'm just saying, I'm glad we're getting this. The water is, really needs it. It's pretty bad.
Okay. All right. Any public comments or questions about this caustic soda piece? Okay, seeing none. Mrs. Stacy, roll call vote.
Elie,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Petite,
Yes.
All right, that motion carries as well. Next item is resolution number 73, and that's Councilman 73 of 2022. That's Councilman Harrington.
Resolution number 73 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to approve the capital improvement plan for financial assistance from the state of Louisiana DOTD Division of Aviation for the Natchitoches Regional Airport. I'm going to read it in title only. I know we have some individuals here who could explain it further.
Okay, we do have Mr. Robert Vinay, but I think Jonathan Farmer is the spokesperson, right? Both from KSA. Jonathan, come on down. All right, and Jonathan, as you get to the microphone, you probably know this. State your first and last name for us, please, just for the record, and then you can go into giving us some explanation as this 5-year capital improvement plan
Yes, sir.
that we have.
So I'm Jonathan Farmer with KSA Engineers. We're the engineer of record for the city of Natchitoches at the airport, and this resolution is for you to adopt your 5-year capital improvement program. You do this for the airport every year, probably in August or September, and then that resolution is required to submit this document to the state. This is really the first steps in your application for funding. So every year we work on whatever project was funded before. That project comes off the list, we look to add new projects onto the list. There's not a lot different on this document than there was this time last year, except for the current project that's in construction at the airport. The multi-million-dollar grant you received from the FAA for that project, it's about 80% done. So naturally, before that one's done, we're already trying to always plan to get started on the next one. At your council meeting on the 8th, you accepted a grant offer from the FAA to do just that. So we're working on the planning and design for the other runway, the primary runway 1735, to do its rehabilitation. And that is the first project that you'll see on the list here, is to rehab the runway, the taxiways, and apron. It'll be more or less just a seal coat with new markings, seal all the cracks. And so that project, you're going to pretty much use your annual entitlement funds that you get from the FAA every year. And then there's roughly about $1 million in discretionary funds that we're going to be applying for as well. The FAA and state indicate that money is planned and ready and will be ready for us, so we're planning to put that project out for bids in the spring. Some of the other projects on here, you'll see there's a designation under funding source that's bill, that's the bipartisan infrastructure law. And so the FAA and all general aviation airports and commercial service airports are getting doled out quite a good bit of funds over the next 5 years. 2022 is the first year we showed that money to roll over, but Natchitoches and the airport is getting $159,000 in federal funds in addition to the $150 you currently get in entitlements every year. And that will run through 2026. So we're still working with the FAA. Information's been a little slow coming out on what those funds can be used for, what types of projects. We have listed on here some placeholders for those in fuel facility improvements and some access road type projects. The thought is that we're wanting to attack the type of projects that typically may not get scored as high in the FAA and state's mind with their priority program, because generally they focus on obstructions and keeping the approaches to the runways clear, the runway pavement, taxiways, aprons. They work from the runway and they move out. So it's very hard to generally get funding for fuel systems, hangars, access roads. So that's kind of the targeted approach we've done with this infrastructure funding, is that we believe this is probably one of the better chances we'll have to get FAA dollars to go towards it. Some of the other projects on here out in future years, some T-hanger taxi lanes, possibly starting to look in the very outer years at what it may take to extend the primary runway to the south. The north, it's kind of prohibited from Northwestern and the lake, but it's a big undertaking to try to extend a runway. Certainly when you have property acquisition, possibly highway relocation. But that's in the outer years. And this document's fluid. Anytime, if anybody has ideas, thoughts, let myself, Ed, or Larry know. And we usually meet or have conference calls lately. We don't really meet so much anymore, but have a lot of conference calls with the FAA and state on this document, checking in multiple times a year as we lead up to this point to where we have to make the submission to the FAA by October 1st and the state by November 1st. So that's what the resolution is for.
Jonathan, if I'm reading this correct, and you and I had a good conversation on your ride down. It was informative for me. Am I reading this right? So nearly a $4.5 million investment, and we're matching it with $300,000 over this 5-year period?
No, the 4.4 million is correct. The match column there, that is actually going to be done. Those are matches, a 10% match to any federal grant you may receive, which LA DOT Aviation actually writes that 10% matching grant for you. So
we're not even doing the match?
No.
The state's gonna do the match for us?
Correct. There is nothing on this CIP that shows a single dollar being contributed from the city of Natchitoches.
I thought it was great that we're only matching $300,000, but that's even
Matt
better.
said we weren't matching, wasn't?
Yep.
That's what he said.
Look, another thing Jonathan and I talked about is there is a master plan,
Correct.
right? So it's not like you're just shooting from the hip. And I know you said the master plan is thick. Just simple question, who developed the master plan?
The master plan was actually developed by your previous airport consultant, Airport Development Group.
Okay.
2015 or so, somewhere around there. And I've reviewed it and I've looked it over. We've updated the ALP. But that plan kind of outlines a 20-year look at what you could possibly do on the airfield. Now, 20 years is a long time. A lot of times those master plans, after about 10 to 12 years, especially with how often the FAA changes guidelines, they have hot button topic issues that come up, runway safety area, guidelines change, so that things are changing all the time. But that master plan does outline everything leading up to and including that runway extension. But there's already quite a bit of things that have already happened from that master plan, like drainage improvements. I think we're going to plan this fall you should be getting a state grant to construct the final phase of that. Like I said, the runway 725 project is in works and hopefully about to be complete. We've redone the perimeter fencing around the entire airfield. There's going to be new LED lighting associated with the secondary runway, or the PAPIs, the approach that you come in on. And then we have a project on here to do LED on the other runway. Outside of that, once we do this next project next year to rehab and seal coat the runways, everything's gonna be in great shape. We're at a point where we can really start looking at doing a project like a runway extension. But that
Did you
master
mention-
plan can be updated whenever you want. It's a living document. It can change and be updated whenever. You're not
Like we
locked
have-
into anything.
I think we have a question,
Good,
Jonathan.
I'm sorry.
The council, any
Did
other
you say a
questions?
time frame you were getting started? I thought I heard you say one, or did you not? Did you
Getting-
say a time frame that this would start? Did you
The-
say a time when you would
The
start
next
the
project?
project? Yes.
Well, so last council meeting, y'all accepted the grant for a fiscal year 2022 grant from the FAA for the planning and design. So we have already started working on that preliminary engineering report for that project. We'll probably have that ready by November of this year, and then we'll have our plans and specifications developed January, February, and usually the FAA tells us we're ready for you to go out to bids around May, so that'll be May of next year.
Okay.
And then more than likely, you'll get a grant offer in July, August. We'll start construction in the fall, and then it's kind of, process just repeats itself over and over every year.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council?
I got a question. So when can we expect to see like the 200 passenger jets landing?
Well, I don't know that you'll
We
quite
actually
get-
talked about this a little bit
Yeah, I don't
today.
know that you'll quite get there. I guess what we see in the industry is certainly most of the passenger jets, even the airports that have commercial service, their numbers are shrinking. I mean, airlines are moving out of airports. Some airports only have 2 flights a day. It'd be a very great undertaking. You would need much more than just probably the additional 1,000 feet that we have shown on the ALP, not to mention you have to bring in TSA and get set up for all that. So my honest answer is not in the next 20 years, not in this master plan.
So
Yeah.
what's flying in and out?
Lifetime.
So do we have anything flying in and out?
You do have, it's not commercial service, but the airport you can be set up for charters. There's certainly regional jets that come in and out conducting business, and that's one of the primary focuses of the runway extension project, because the jets aren't necessarily limited by when they come in for landing, they're limited in takeoff. They need that runway length for takeoff. And the way it really limits the city is your ability to sell fuel. On some of those jets that do come in, they probably could take on a full load of fuel, whereas they don't in the warm summer months in particular, because they're already too heavy and they can't take on any more and still take off on a 5,000-foot runway.
So the first grant that should be finished mid-December, the one that they working on now, that should be done by December?
I'm hoping the project that's in construction now, that they're gonna be done by the end of September.
Okay, I'd like to come to it and look at it.
Yeah, I understand. I'm hoping it's gonna be soon. There's not much left.
Okay.
They're
before
done
they-
with the runway. We're just working on the taxiway B1 portion that was part of the project. And then they just basically have to do a little cleanup and then remark the pavement. So
Okay,
it shouldn't be too much more.
okay.
Not much is gonna be happening this week, though. Doesn't look like.
Yeah, it's
All
raining.
the rain.
Thank you.
A little wet.
I never made a motion. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 73 of 2022.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. We do need to ask for public comments or questions. Okay, Ed, anything to add here?
Oh, I just appreciate Jonathan and Robert coming down to talk about it. They don't, sometimes it's me trying to explain it, but I'm glad they were here doing it. And one thing about talking about the corporate jets, it's a big part of it is some of the industry in Natchitoches. Alliance Compressors, International Paper, this is how their leadership gets to Natchitoches, and it's very important for economic development tool for the city of Natchitoches to be able to have access for these companies to fly in and out of Natchitoches. It's very important.
And Larry is the day-to-day manager. You got anything to add, Larry? Okay. All right, we got a motion and a second. Thank you,
Thank
Jonathan.
y'all.
Appreciate you. All right, roll call vote, Mrs. Stacy.
Elie,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Petite,
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Last item on the agenda in terms of voting item, is Resolution Number 74 of 2022 and is read by Councilwoman Washington Elie.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 74 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the mayor to advertise the bid for the wastewater collection system rehabilitation Kaiser Lift Station, whereas the city wished to advertise for the bids for the wastewater collection system rehabilitation of Kaiser Lift Station bid number 0650, and whereas the sealed proposal shall be addressed to the City of Natchitoches of the Director of Published City of Natchitoches Processing Department, 1400 Sabine Street, Natchitoches, Louisiana, 71457. And whereas the city will accept bids and electronic bids for the projects until 2 p.m. on Thursday, September the 22nd, 2022, at the Office of Director of Publisher, 1400 Sabine Street. And whereas the bid will be publicly open and read aloud at 2 p.m. and Thursday, September the 22nd, 2022, held at the above the Director of Public Processing. And whereas upon receipt proposal, the Committee of Clarissa Brown Smith, Finance Director, Elie, Director of Purchasing, Betty Smith, Councilwoman at Large, and Matt Anderson, the Utility Department, and review, make a recommendation of the bids review. Now for that be resolved by the Council of the City of Natchitoches, this legal session convened that the Honorable Mayor Ronald Reedus Jr. be hereby authorized and empowered and direct to order the publication of the above bid. And I move to adopt resolution number 74 of 2022.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. I saw it on one of those, Steve. Steve is queuing up a video for us. I'll just say, and I want Matt to, if he wants to say something about this piece after we do the little video. We received a $400,000 DRA grant, Delta Regional Authority grant, midwinter. I was at the midwinter LMA conference, and I was pleasantly surprised when they called the city of Natchitoches at that meeting. You know, what these grants allow us to do is, you know, if we don't apply for them, it's not that the money is not going to be out there. So it allows us to divert funding in our budget to take care of something else. So this is a video, because you say a lift station. I wanted you to really know how a lift station worked so we can value this grant and this type of technology. So go ahead, Steve.
Metropolitan Council Environmental Services operates the 7-county regional wastewater collection and treatment system. This video will explain the purpose and operation of wastewater pumping stations, or lift stations. To illustrate how this system works, this video will follow wastewater from its source, through the local sanitary sewer system, into a regional wastewater lift station. Wastewater begins in homes and buildings when dirty water is sent to the local sanitary sewer system through a drain or toilet. It travels through the underground pipes, usually under the street, until it connects with the large pipes of the regional collection system. The wastewater flows downhill until it reaches a low point in the system, where it can no longer flow by gravity. Lift stations are installed at these low points so that the flow can be pumped or lifted to higher ground, so it can again flow downhill through the wastewater collection system. When the flow reaches the lift station, wastewater collects in an underground tank called a wet well. As the wet well fills, sensors measure the water level. Once the water level reaches a certain depth, the pumps inside the lift station turn on and force the wastewater out through a pipeline called a force main. The pumps shown in this lift station are submersible pumps. This is because they are located in the water of the wet well, similar to a sump pump in a home. For larger and more complex lift stations, the pumps are placed in a room separate from the wet well. This allows easier access and maintenance. Lift stations will often have an above-ground structure to house the other equipment needed to operate the system. Placing this equipment above ground allows for easy access for maintenance and repair. Because the wet well environment is so dangerous, access hatches are locked and monitored to prevent unauthorized entry. Once the wastewater is pumped out of the lift station, it continues through the force main until it reaches higher ground. From there, it can once again flow by gravity. Ultimately, the wastewater arrives at one of the regional wastewater treatment plants, where it is cleaned to strict standards before being released back into the environment. To To learn more about lift stations and other parts of your regional sewer system, head to the Metropolitan Council website and search how it works.
Got a better appreciation now? All right, so that's what the lift station is going to do for us. Matt, any comment?
Mayor, that's a very good explanation of what a lift station does, and just for record, we have about 50 of those lift stations. Most of them have 2 pumps, but our largest has 8 pumps.
I think we should note the one on Sadia Street is an award-winning lift station, is that correct?
That's correct.
Mhm.
Yes.
Award-winning, it was in the magazine, highlighted in the magazine.
Yeah, Water and Sewer Digest magazine did an article on it.
Do y'all get those? Y'all subscribe to those? I'm just messing with you. But no, it's a big deal. It's award-winning, so great work on that. Who was the engineer on that?
Schuler.
Schuler did that? Okay, great work. So I don't know, council, you got any questions or comments about this? Going out for bids? Any public comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, Mrs. Stacy, roll call vote.
Elie,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Petite.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. All right, we're now up to our financial report by Mrs. Clarissa Smith Brown. That's wrong, Mrs. Clarissa Brown Smith.
That's okay. Thank you, Mayor. Just quickly, we want to go through some of our sales tax reports. We did have our quarterly meeting last week, which went very well, which we were seated as the president, I guess, of the board for this year. So that was fun. The first slide you'll see is just our sales tax distribution. We have results from June and July. In June, when you're looking at 22 versus 23, we were up 2.87% in June, and then we're up 5% in July. So sales tax distribution is actually still increasing, which is great. We have not seen a downward slope in quite a while. So that's actually some great news. Our law enforcement tax is holding steady. As you can see, looking towards the right of the graph, you can see that for June, we were slightly above, about 12 to 20,000. And then for July, we were neck and neck. So still doing very, very good on our law enforcement tax there. TIF tax, the 2% tax that we have in place right now, as you can see, 2022 versus 2023, we are up about 3% there. So still seeing some upward trends in all of our different categories. And then for our occupancy tax, as you can see, we're doing very well. When you're looking at, we had information up to June for this one in particular. And when you're looking at 21 or 22, you can see that we are up in the same month, which is June. We're up a little bit about $300 there. So still showing an upward trend, doing very, very well. So that was some great news just to see that our sales tax, which just means that our businesses are busy. We're getting a lot of visitation, so doing well.
Council, any questions about the financial report? Comments or questions? Okie dokie. All right, thank you, Mrs. Brown Smith. Okay, all right, we're moving on to announcements. And we have first, our next meeting is September 12th. Same time, same place. And as we got through the city council last meeting, Employee Appreciation Day is that Friday, September 2nd, so City Hall will be closed. We'll be putting out the amended schedule for City Hall very shortly, this week sometime. And then, of course, Labor Day is Monday, September 5th, so that's a 4-day weekend. All right, we have with us in the city of Natchitoches one of our U.S. senators, Senator Kennedy. We have Mr. Barr, who's out of Senator Kennedy's office. He's always here in Natchitoches supporting events we've got going on, so there's going to be a congressional update. from the senator. This is this Wednesday at Lazion. So starts at 11, I think, with some type of social hour. And then, there'll be food, and then the senator will give the update on that. All right, the Zydeco Festival, 23 years strong. And they've got the admissions there and all of that. They've got the artists who they're having. I see DJ, one of our local DJ Rob Brill. And there's some other artists I can't really see from here. But I think this may be on our app if you want some more information. But Labor Day weekend, the 2nd and the 3rd is when. So that's Friday and Saturday, Labor Day weekend. So hopefully you're in town and you will participate in the Zydeco Festival. Is this a 2-year hiatus, Chief Collins? It's a 2-year hiatus, so it's coming back, obviously because of COVID. All right. Town Hall, I think we had a really good Town Hall Thursday past. We're talking about the water treatment plant and how we get there financially. All right, and so we want to encourage residents to come out. Our next one is on September 15th at the Weaver Elementary Gymnasium, 520 St. Maurice. Also, East 5th is at the corner of St. Maurice and East 5th. So again, 6:30 to 7:30, we're trying to stay strong to that, stay committed to that hour. And then the next slide is when our third town hall is going to be First Baptist Amulet on the 29th from 6:30 to 7:30. Again, same topic of discussion going on there. All right, next announcement, want to encourage everybody, as typically our high season, if you will, for hurricanes is the end of August. All right, so we're about at that point. So I know everybody's paying attention to the weather. Obviously, we want to hope that it doesn't happen, but just in case it does, we want everybody to be prepared. We developed some content last year about hurricane preparedness. Just want to encourage everybody to visit that site, but also download Regroup so we could easily give you messages about, power outages and things of that nature. And then we're encouraging also everybody, this is, we're entering to the fall. There's a lot of things going on in Natchitoches in the fall. So if you want to know what's happening, download the app, encourage others to do it as well. So again, you could be in the know about the activities taking place here in our historic city. And I think there's just one more. Once again, we're nominated, or we're finalists, I think is how we say it, for Bark for Your Park. All right, so you can vote once a day. So please, through the August 31st, vote. Encourage others to vote for it. So there's some other cities that are a lot bigger than us, so we're going to need everybody to vote every day. And I don't want to do any voter fraud. I don't know if you can vote multiple times a day, but anyhow, I know you can vote once a day, and through the 31st of this month. Okay. All righty. Council, do you have anything else? I think that's at the end of my announcements. Again, Senator Kennedy will be in town on Wednesday at Lazion's. All right, at this time, we'll hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.